What you and I are looking at right here is a method that was utilized in reference to a few of the studies, something called auricular acupuncture. Now, the methodology here and also a few other studies on top of that is what they utilized was metal beads. Metal beads taped to specific points within the ear itself. Now, it does not take a vivid imagination to basically recognize that once these metal beads are in the proper position, that a custom-fit earpiece like a clip can be manufactured for each individual on a case-by-case basis, which can possibly yield the same results as the outcome in regard to appetite suppression, weight loss, metabolism, so on and so forth. Now, many may say, well, oh my gosh, it's acupuncture, acupressure, and a lot of individuals may be a little standoffish, especially here in the West. But however, though, once you recognize that the researchers at hand notice the association that may be occurring in regard to something called the Arnold's nerve, which is part of the auricular, landscape here, or what may be called the vagus nerve, a vagus nerve. Now, a lot of doctors go, oh, vagus nerve right off the bat. That plays a huge role in digestion, metabolism, energy, and so on and so forth. In fact, the vagus nerve, as commonly referred to, is now up and coming. It's a major breakthrough in regard to all fields of medicine. So you could see how you could take acupressure, acupuncture, and once you start looking at those, what some may call energy pathways or nerve connections, the language may be different, but the outcome is the same. It all begins to ring all those bells and the lights go off. Now, another thing about this study as well, it's difficult to do a sham study because the main reason being is the researchers were concerned if they took beads and they put them in the wrong spot, that it could potentially create harm to part of the control group. So they use intradermal needles or they did no treatment at all in a few of the studies. And we're going to look at the one study that's presented here. And then we're going to look at the reference studies what utilized to basically rationalize the study which is presented here. So here we go. And those other studies are quite fascinating as well. I really like redundancy. And because it's easy to do a study over and over again until you get the outcome you desire, the p-value being 1 in 20 for a lot of cases, and never have to report those negative studies. But if you have a lot of redundant studies that are positive on the same outcome, yes, that's actually cool. So let us begin. Ear acupuncture beads may help shed the pounds. Small study finds 6-point stimulation of outer ear with simple metal beads help reduce waist circumference, body fat, and BMI in men living with obesity. We're going to look at those other studies as well too. So let's briefly go through the primary study presented here. Ear acupuncture using metal beads can help reduce weight, body mass index, and body fat in combination with a restricted diet, according to new research being presented at this year's European Congress of Obesity in Dublin, Ireland. The study by Dr. Fujimoto from the Clinic of Tokyo, Japan, Clinic F, Tokyo, Japan, and colleagues suggest that food cravings can be controlled. So you're not just looking at metabolism, but you're looking at a lot of other variants that play a role in the challenges of maintaining a proper weight. Using simpler method of acupuncture stimulation with beads, rather than the traditional use of intradermal needles, which requires expert acupuncturists. So that's what I'm saying. Think about this. You go to an expert acupuncturist to begin with to get the placement down. They make a clip, and then boom, that clip's customized to you. You see where I'm going with this? It's actually kind of cool. Since these tiny metal beads are attached to 6 points on the outer ear that stimulates nerves and organs which regulate appetite, satiety, hunger, and this type of acupuncture does not require complex knowledge or skill, explains the doctor. In Japan, this method to aid weight loss has been used for over 30 years. So it's got a really solid track record. But now let's go into the methodology. The new study, this one particular one here, in 81 Japanese men living with overweight or obesity age 21 to 78, average BMI, with high levels of unhealthy abdominal fat, assessed auricular acupuncture with 1.5 millimeter metal ear beads on 6 points of the outer ear. Shenmin, food pipe, upper stomach opening, stomach, lungs, endocrine system, so on and so forth. The beads were placed on both ears, so keep that in mind, and kept in place using surgical tape to ensure the participants were continually receiving uniform pressure on each of the 6 acupuncture points. The beads were replaced twice a week during hospital visits. At the same time, participants were given guidance on diet and body weight was measured. Participants were then asked to reduce their total food intake by half but during the 3 months of the treatment and kept food diaries. The results. Now, before I proceed, the next study we'll look at right after this, in reference to this, they only used 2 points, but they used needles. But to proceed, the study found substantial differences after 3 months with participants losing an average of 10.4 centimeters off the waist circumference and basically 4% of the total body fat. Measures of unhealthy abdominal body fat also fell by an average of 2 points and a value on a scale of 1 to 59 with a healthy visceral fat rating between 1 and 12. And exercise, excessive levels between 13 and 59. And BMI decreased by almost 3 points. It's just giving you the scale. Quoting, our findings suggest that acupuncture on the ear may aid weight loss when paired with diet exercise, said Dr. Fujimoto. Quote, it is likely that acupuncture has a positive effect by curbing cravings and appetite, improving digestion, and boosting metabolism. The authors note there are several limitations and it's a small group and they can't prove causation. But the observation gave a pretty strong correlation. Not to rhyme there. Now we're looking at a few of the redundant studies which gave inspiration to this particular study being presented. And here we go. Now this one they used needles, but I want to show you they only looked at 2 points. Now, interesting point was discovered in 2015. This is where the ideas came along. The effects of auricular acupuncture and weight reduction and feeding related to cytokines. A pilot study in 2015. Previous studies suggest that weight reduction affect auricular acupuncture occurs via the vagus nerve, and going to the bottom, the acupuncture sites used in the study lie along the auricular branch of the vagus nerve. And what they did here primarily is use the hunger point and stomach point. And that was pretty much it. Now they taped the needle, but they also did needles as well. Now check this out. Now this just gives you the strength of the activation of those points, more so look at the methodology of not using beads, but needles itself. Keep this in mind. Look at this graph. That is 1 week. Body fat percentage loss was just astounding. You see what I mean? Look at that. 1 week. And that's part of what gave the inspiration for the current study which we have referred to in the very beginning. Now, the studies that they mentioned in the primary study as follows too. Auricular acupuncture beads support sustained weight loss reference study. There is that picture once again, which we referenced in the beginning. Furthermore, using the follow-up 6-month studies after the auricular acupuncture intervention, we clearly showed a statistically significant difference in subjects whose weight continued to drop even after the treatment ended. Now, you may have caught that in the first study where it said this continued for at least 6 months. So what ended up happening is, again, they did this for a short period of time, I think 3 months, and then the benefits still kept on going even after they stopped the treatment. So that part, I'd love to see confirmation on the future studies, but can you imagine that? Something that's simple like that, as far as activating those points, that may introduce activity to the vagus nerve, that can have continuing effects even if you stop it, that's amazing. In conclusion, auricular acupuncture might offer a method of weight reduction in addition to diet and exercise. Quote, we demonstrate that even a simple method of adhering beads to the auricle can offer an effective equivalent or better than intradermal needles that require a high level of knowledge and technique. Auricular acupuncture has been demonstrated to reduce hunger caused by dietary restrictions, to lose weight, and help to consciously control food consumption. See? Start thinking those ear clips already? It's actually kind of interesting. Again, not being an acupuncturist myself or have any clue in regard to that field of knowledge, but can you imagine just something like that? Just a simple ear clip, custom designed for you based upon those points. Boom. That's amazing. Of course, both ears. To proceed. Now, the other study they referenced in the very beginning was as follows. Mechanisms of acupuncture therapy for simple obesity, evidence-based review of clinical animal studies on simple obesity. Now, looking at this chart right here, reference, I want to bring your attention to the bottom when you basically have white adipose tissue, or fat tissue, and how they can brown that white tissue. That part really stood out to me in the animal studies itself. But now if you look at all the benefits here, it becomes pretty amazing altogether. Not to overuse that word, but still, that is pretty spectacular overall. So again, The studies themselves, I would like to see better studies with somehow a way of controlling or isolating those control groups in a more of a randomized function. May have to go to different hospitals, so on and so forth, not knowing what treatment is the actual treatment and what treatment is what's called the sham treatment, to see if we can come out with a similar outcome. But however though, outside of that, what we are noticing here through different institutions, different researchers, and so on and so forth, and observation over 3 decades, a lot of positive redundancy in reference to that outcome, regardless of the historical, basically accumulation of knowledge going over who knows how many years or generations itself, just to the simple basis of observation, which is the beginning of most scientific method. So amazing, basically observation overall. Great in regard to its hypothesis. Like to see a little bit better conclusion in regard to null and alternative hypothesis, but still just the same. It is an incredible discovery, and if validated, can yield such an incredibly simple article, basically of clothing, even decorative to wear, that can yield tremendous benefit for an untold number of our population in a very healthy, happy, and positive way. Again, gratitude to the researchers, as always, every week, and every week as well. I am always humbled you watch, and I look forward to see you all once again next week. Catch you next time.